Yeah, hang on here just a second. I'm waiting on the printer. Something else. There we go. Does Obama get a daily briefing on global warming? Well, he said the other day that in that Vox interview that he doesn't like the presidential daily briefing because it's a daily diary of death. Meaning the presidential daily brief is a foreign policy summary and tells him, what kind of activity is going on around the world, who's encroaching on who's posing a threat, who's killing who. And I'm just wondering, is global warming mentioned in the presidential daily brief? Because the president's out there saying, as is the press secretary, that global warming is a greater threat than terrorism or ISIS or, heck, even nuclear Iran is a great. And I'm just wondering if this global warming must be part of the daily diary of death, right? Well, it better be. Anyway, greetings and welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh again behind the golden EIB microphone. Telephone number 800-282-2882 and the email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. Look, folks, on this Hillary Clinton business, I have never in all of my years trying, I do not feel confident that I have properly conveyed my thinking on Hillary Clinton. Now, I have been wrong about her numerous times when I have predicted that she wouldn't run. I thought she wouldn't run for the Senate in New York, and I was wrong. And there have been maybe a couple of other things. But the thing that has made me think about this is actually my reaction to the abject fear of the woman that I encounter everywhere I go. I mean, on a golf course, sit down and talk to people from Fox News. I don't care who it is. There is abject fear. I mean, I can take you back to my house back in 2007. And we had a bunch of people in for the weekend. And the dinner time conversation, much of it, got started when one of the guests asserted, with a tone of abject fear and doom in his voice, that there was a 75% chance Hillary Clinton was going to be elected president in 2008. And it was like the dining room was turned into a funeral parlor. And I didn't understand it. Of all the potential Democrat candidates, why is it when you mention Hillary Clinton, people on our side think it's over and want to give up and think that there's nothing can stop her? The fait accompli. Because when I objectively look at Hillary, I mean, I go back to when I first heard of her, which was the Clinton presidential campaign, 1992. I don't know. I don't see raging competence. I look at everything she got her hands on, in fact, during the Clinton years. She bungled. She bungled the politics of handling all the women that were coming forth and claiming they'd had affairs or relationships with Bill. She sat idly by, knowing full well what her husband was doing, and didn't raise a finger. She had to know that stuff was going on. And her role in it was to do whatever it took to cover it up. Well, how did that work out for them? They didn't cover it up. It all became known. Jennifer Flowers, you name it. Kathleen Willey, and then, of course, Monica Lewinsky. We were led to believe that Hillary was shocked and saddened and had no idea. And she might have been shocked that her husband was so stupid as to do it in the Oval Office, but she could not have been surprised he was doing it. So there had to be another calculation there, and I know what it is. The calculation was she gave up her life to move to Arkansas with him because she figured she would get farther in life hitching herself to his wagon than striking out on her own. And so the feminists have always thought she deserved special treatment because she gave herself up in order to follow this guy along and supposedly pave the way for him. But all she did was stand aside when all the bimbo eruptions happened. She let him get away with it. She tried to cover up for him, and she did her best working with others on the staff to destroy the women. And yet she's considered a great feminist? And you got James Carville running around with his drag a dollar bill through a trailer park. You never know what you're going to find. She's applauding that. Then they gave her Hillary Care. One of the prices that she exacted for looking the other way, well, she didn't even do that. One of the prices that she exacted for making sure Clinton was not harmed by all these dalliances with women, not his wife, was control over certain aspects of the Clinton agenda, and they gave her health care, and she botched that. Why, we alone on this radio program, there was no Fox News back then. This is 1992, folks. Well, this might have been 93 or 94. I forget which. Remember Hillary's bus tour? We're going to go from Seattle to Washington, and she's going to drum up all this massive support for Hillary Care, which was just a forerunner to Obamacare. And it was just as draconian, and it had just as many ingredients as Obamacare has that are simply repulsive. It set up requirements for doctors that they, in order to go to medical school and be educated in the specialty they desired, if Hillary Care had become law, they were going to have to promise, in order to be permitted to study that specialty, they were going to have to promise to let the government assign them their place of business, where they were going to live. So if somebody wanted to go in and become a specialist, say, in toenail fungus, and the government was going to say, okay, fine, but you're going to have to live in Buffalo to do it. I mean, that was part and parcel of Hillary Care. Anyway, she had this bus tour, and we blew that up on this radio show. We mocked it, we laughed at it, we made fun of it, we had people greeting her along the way with signs. It was supposed to be a massive sweeping up of public opinion in favor of national health care. And instead, that blew up. The notion that the woman is invincible and she's the smartest woman in the world, all of this concocted. All of it was manufactured, none of it based on substance. And then after the Monica thing hits, she goes on the Today Show and blames that whole event on a vast right-wing conspiracy, which was silly. Now, it's not to say that some people didn't buy it and the media glommed onto it because anything they could do to protect Clinton, they would do. But I don't know. I don't understand the fear of any of them. Not just, but I don't understand why there is fear of Hillary and there isn't fear of John Kerry. I don't understand why there's fear on our side. I don't understand why there's fear of Hillary, but there isn't fear of Elizabeth Warren. It seems if you're going to be afraid of them, be afraid of all of them. They all stand for the same thing. They're all big government socialists. They all do not like the country as founded. They all want to fundamentally transform it like Obama. And then you add the other elements to Hillary, and I remain befuddled. And sometimes I question it because there's so many people I know that are literally, maybe scared to death is a bit of an exaggeration, but they think she's unbeatable. I'm not talking about Republicans in the establishment or people that, I'm not talking about elected Republicans. I'm talking about fellow media people and just friends of mine in all range of business and income level. The abject fear, I just don't understand it. It seems to me that it wouldn't be that difficult to illustrate the areas of incompetence and fraud that Hillary Clinton embodies. Now we got these rumors that she's out there. She's out of sight. By the way, one thing, I was not joking when I had that previous caller. Her numbers, her approval numbers, do skyrocket the less she is seen and heard. That's another thing. I mean, how good can she be if when she shows up and starts speaking, her numbers go down? But it's the way it is. So there's all kinds of reasons or theories being advanced to explain why Hillary is out of sight and can't be found. So you heard the one advanced by the caller. Well, Rush, she's getting work done, as in plastic surgery, face job. Now, I must admit, because I remember, I'm sure many of you were shouting at the radio, I was the one who first asked the question, does America, and by the way, in setting this up or reminding you about it, I did this from the standpoint of compassion. I asked this question not as a critic or opponent of Mrs. Clinton. I forget what was going at the time, but she was being what I thought was kind of like with Janet Reno, was unfairly attacked. I forget what it was about, but I do know that I came to her defense, and I was being compassionate. I asked the question, does America want to watch a woman of Mrs. Clinton's age before their eyes in office? The media picked up on that and make big hay out of it and treated it as a serious question. I was kind of surprised, but they did. They treated it as a serious question and began looking at it. And obviously, the Clinton camp considers it a serious question. But now you notice something else that our caller said. I was very precise in this. I thought the caller had said that she could look better, and the caller, no, should, the caller said. She should look better. And there are people who believe that. People who believe that Mrs. Clinton has not spent enough time nearly on just her own personal appearance, that she doesn't need a whole lot of work, but she needs to do something. But the Republican candidate more than likely is going to be somebody younger than she is, and therefore is going to appear younger and more vibrant and more energetic and so forth. See, when I think of Hillary Clinton, I think of somebody who is old. I think of somebody whose ideas are old. I think she's been around so long that there can't possibly be any of the kind of mystique that accompanied Obama, who arrived as a basic unknown, and he was so unknown that voters could basically make of him whatever they wanted him to be. The old empty canvas argument. She's not going to be able to rely on that. I look at her as old and tired. She was a failure as Secretary of State. I don't know how else to explain this. But I also know that I am in a real small minority among people whose business is getting people elected, or whose business is consulting those who get people elected. They all are scared to death that she's invincible and inevitable. And I just don't get it. We will see, because it looks like, I would even think that on my side is what happened in 2008. If she's so invincible, if she's so inevitable, how could it have been that an unknown, relatively unknown, skinny black guy coming out of 160 days in the Senate could blow her out? And it would have been a blowout were it not for Operation Chaos. That was my effort, and you helped, of course, to prolong her candidacy. Operation Chaos, for those of you who were not listening back in 2008, the Republican nominee had already been chosen. It was Senator McCain. So there was no excitement left in the Republican primary process. The only primary action was on the Democrat side. And in this audience, who cares? I mean, they care, but the daily goings on in the Democrat primary are not what people primarily expected me to be talking about in this program. So in order to create interest in it, I had to find a way to involve this program and the audience in that Democrat primary. And the chief objective was to keep it going. The last thing we needed was for Obama to get the nomination in March and for McCain to have already had it. I mean, that would have been sheer boredom from March all the way through the conventions, or until the conventions. So what I did was conceive and order Operation Chaos deployed. Operation Chaos was Republicans were ordered and instructed, well, it was suggested by me, that Republicans in open primary states left on the Democrat calendar, since the Republican nominee had already been chosen and their votes for that didn't matter, that they cross over and vote for Hillary in the remaining states from March through June in order to keep her candidacy alive, just so there'd be something exciting to talk about. And maybe upset the apple cart a bit. And Operation Chaos was deployed, and it was effective. It was so effective that there was a George Clooney movie that was made about a year later, and 1/3 of the movie was about politics, focused on Operation Chaos and the Democrat Party's paranoia of it. So anyway, 2008, inevitable, invincible, and look, it didn't take much, but eventually all the Democrats pledged to her fled and joined up with Obama. So why this inevitability? I still tell you, I don't get it. Yeah. The George Clinton, the Clooney movie was the Ides of March. It's about Democrat politics, and the first third of the movie is about Operation Chaos. They don't mention my name. They just talk about what Operation Chaos is and how upsetting it was. But look, go back to 2008. I mean, everybody says, okay, look, the young, skinny black guy is going to trump the middle-aged to elderly white woman in terms of who's got the most grievances, who's more down for the struggle, who makes the bigger minority candidate, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't about that. That race, 2008, it was Hillary's, it was hers, it was payback for all the stuff she had done to enable her husband. And I'm just telling you, if the Democrat Party had been committed to Hillary in 2000, which we were told they were, how in the world was it possible that Barack Obama comes along and steals it from her anyway? My theory is that the Democrat Party must not have wanted Hillary all that much. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't want her, but I'm just, that 2008 was a lock. It was hers. It was almost written down. Mrs. Clinton, this is yours. It's your turn. This is due you. We owe you for everything you've done for the party by looking the other way when your husband was out sleeping with all these other women and lying before the grand jury. You made that all possible by hanging with him, and so now it's your turn. But they didn't work very hard to make it hers. The minute Obama shows up, remember all the puff piece media stories on Obama? And I said, what's this? The drive-bys are people abandoning Hillary Clinton in droves within a month of Obama showing up.